Welcome, FNUSA57 here. Once again, I'm on my Xbox Series X. We're currently playing Halo Infinite. This is part of the winter update, and I will be showing you exactly how to unlock the It Really Does Beat Everything rare 20 gamer score achievement. Now, this achievement probably is going to stay rare for a while because it's actually kind of buggy and one of the more annoying ones to do. So I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to get this achievement unlocked. It currently, at the time of recording, has a 0.02% unlock rate. And what you're going to need to do is one of two things. Either on a new save, go through and play through up until you get to the mission, The Sequence, or you can use mission replay for this. Now, keep in mind this can be done on any difficulty. It can be done in solo or co-op, but it's a little bit easier to do in solo since the enemies will be focused on you. Keeping that in mind, there's nice little gremlins that like to run around in Xboxes, so before you attempt this achievement, make sure that you're launching the game fresh, that you're not using the quick resume feature, and if you haven't done so in a while, it doesn't hurt to make sure that you had a hard power cycle done, which is simply restarting your console through that options menu. So, now I can also confirm that you can use the Scorpion tank gun, the Pocket Scorpion Easter egg, if you want to call it that, but that means you're going to have to go back to Outpost Tremonius and get that if you have not done that yet. So you can do that in mission replay if you want. Why you'd want to do so, I don't know. This is actually relatively easy. Also, you cannot use fast travel. So go ahead and replay or load up the mission, The Sequence. You can do it on any difficulty. I would recommend doing it on easy so the tank does not get destroyed as quickly. You can put skulls on if you would like. You don't really need to put skulls on. There is one skull in particular that I recommend you do not use because this can cause a bit of a problem, and that is the cowbell skull. Because basically it speeds up the acceleration from explosions, and it can cause enemies to fly off the map, which usually kills them, but sometimes they fly into places that they don't die and you can't find them. At which point you're going to go through, load up the mission, play through the basic starting sequence. You can bring in any weapons you want. Again, if you have that Scorpion tank Easter egg, or Pocket Scorpion as most players have referred to it, you're good to go.
Look at the spire.
And you're going to have to do the initial part of this game, which I'm going to include, but you can skip ahead in the video if you would like. This is pretty straightforward in all honesty. All it requires you to do is clear out these enemies. Again, we're playing on the lowest difficulty. We're playing on easy, which is going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Pun very much intended. So quickly dispatch the Covenant, like the demon that they refer to us, even though these are the banished faction of the Covenant. And once all of the enemies have been dispatched, you can start the sequence of opening this door. Of course, all skippable cutscenes you can skip, that's not a problem.
Those beacons?
And now we're going to take a look at the map, and this is where things get a little wonky. So basically the weapon is going to mark after this dialogue 3 or more, I should say, of these spires. So this is the spire we need to get into, but for the achievement we're going to have to visit all of these other spires to get the data sequence. I think it's either 3. Yeah, it's 3. 3 or 4 in total. And what we need to do is we need to locate Fob Kilo on the map. Now, if you've already taken control over this, you'll have the fast travel option. I repeat, do not use that. At least in mission replay, it bugs it out. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set a waypoint. And I don't recommend doing it on the fob itself. I recommend setting that waypoint, having a hard time letting it zoom in here, but set that waypoint a little bit south of the Fob Kilo. All right, now that you know where you need to go, we can get there, and you can take a vehicle if you want. You can also go by foot if you want, but it's obviously going to take you a while to cover that 1,800 meter distance. Or as you run across these bridges, you're going to notice that there's 2 banshees that like to fly over this area. So there's a couple different ways that you can get the banshee and hijack it. You can go ahead and grapple up to the roof of this building and then wait for the banshee to come back overhead. This is where playing on a lower difficulty helps you out. You don't need to clear out the enemies from here, but there are snipers. So basically the banshees are passive until you cross over this wall, and then the banshees themselves are going to start to come at you, which means that they're going to fly at a lower altitude, thereby allowing us to actually grapple to the banshee, skyjack it, and we can move on now, which is amazing. You don't need to capture anything else. And this will make your life a whole hell of a lot easier because the Banshee is a pretty fast aircraft and we do have to cover quite a bit of distance in order to get to this other beacon. So if you were going by foot, this would be like, you know, a 5-minute montage of traveling across the map. As I mentioned, you can skip ahead in the video if you would like, but this way, if you follow along exactly, you won't miss out on a thing. Now, it's very important that we ignore that banshee because sometimes it counts, it's not supposed to, and we stay as far away from that spire as possible. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Fob Kilo. This is the southmost beacon. And I'm still going to leave my mark because right kind of in the middle of those trees, right around like there is going to be the scorpion that we need. So if you've captured this fob, then great. You won't be attacked by any enemies here. If you have not captured the fob, then obviously there will be enemies there. It's not necessary to capture the fob, though. We're just going to want to take this path to the south. You can use your ping, and you'll notice that there is a nice, handy-dandy, fancy scorpion here. The scorpion spawns here. Directly in front of the scorpion are several batches of grunts. And, of course, there will be marines. So this is another thing that I can confirm. These marines, they can get on the scorpion and they can kill enemies for you. It does not seem to void the achievement, but I would kind of recommend disposing of them or just letting them get killed because sometimes it tends to bug out the achievement a little bit. Unfortunately, Marines are actually pretty damn durable, surprisingly. So killing them off, especially on a low difficulty, can be a bit of a challenge. And they will tend to kill enemies, which can bug it out. So basically what we want to do is just get the tank away from these Marines. And now we're going to proceed to the spire. Eventually the Marines will leash away, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do have to keep this tank alive as we go towards the southern spire, which is not the easiest thing to do because the tank tends to get stuck in places, and we need to basically eliminate everything. So this works out the easiest if you don't have to have Marines shooting at stuff, because then you can aggro the enemies when you want. And basically this is a throwback to a very old piece of dialogue from a earlier Halo game where there is a quote about, oh, tank beats this, tank beats that, tank beats hunter, tank beats everything. So that's where the achievement name comes from. Now what we want to do is we want to proceed up towards the spire, and we want to kill off everything that we come across.
There we go. We need to get inside the beacon.
So now technically it's supposed to be just from this point on that we need to kill the enemies off, but sometimes that first group counts. Be aware that there are going to be 2 wraiths immediately in front of you, and these guys do a massive amount of damage. You'll need the vehicle to go ahead and turn red and explode. Usually on lower difficulty takes about 2 shots from the main gun of the Scorpion. Same if you're using the pocket scorpion, which is basically a scorpion tank that, as the name would suggest, fits in your pocket. So go ahead and murder everything. There will be several enemies that have the electric sniper rifle, and they can disable your tank. So very important that you take your time, take out everything. Doing this on a low difficulty will make life so much easier for you. Make sure that there's no enemies hiding around in the trees, because lots of times grunts, they love to hide on you. And we have to kill every enemy with this scorpion tank. And that's referring to the scorpion tank main gun. So you have to make sure that what is credited for the kill is the scorpion tank itself. You want to make sure that you do not kill any enemies outside of your tank. So no small arms fire, no grenades, nothing of that sort. You'll notice there's more energy snipers that are up on the tower. And I'm going to take my time going through this. You can breeze through it a little bit faster if you want. The tank's got pretty good durability, but even on low difficulty, they will shred the tank's health bar. Even the non-destroyed wraith, like there's a wraith that was right there that wasn't destroyed. We're going to go ahead and destroy that. It's not 100% necessary, but the thing is, if the vehicle's damaged and the vehicle then explodes later and happens to kill something, it can potentially void the achievement. There's also sometimes groups of enemies that hide up there. And we have another grunt. There's one of the ones I was talking about that likes to hide. Plus, you have to make sure that the scorpion doesn't get destroyed. We don't exactly have a health bar on it. We have some plasma damage, and obviously the engine's on fire. Those main plasma mortar rounds from the wraiths do considerable damage, even on low difficulty. So we'll start to come up here closer towards the beacon spire. There's going to be a whole bunch of jackals. There's also going to be like a brute commander. We'll need to eliminate them. And then, bam, there you go. It really does beat everything. One nice, sexy achievement. If you don't get the pop-up right away, make sure that you go to the official club, go down and check your progress there, because sometimes the notifications don't pop up correctly. But it should unlock at this point. And you'll usually get the dialogue pop up that says that it's all clear and you'll be able to interact with the door. If for some reason by this point you do not have the achievement and it is not unlocked in the club, then what you need to do is you need to continue to drive around like the back side of this spire. Make sure there's no enemies that are lurking up here at the top of the spire, because sometimes there'll be a couple that are lurking up there. They're usually never behind the spire, and if you followed my path exactly, then you should be fine on, you probably have killed everything already. But if you did not follow my path, then you may have a couple of enemies that like to sit up here in these trees. So just kind of drive around and double check the remaining areas, and also double check that you've destroyed all of the vehicles if you did not get the achievement right there when I did, because usually there'll be like a grunt or somebody that's chilling like there in those trees, in the forest right back there or above where I was at. And every once in a long while, if you missed them when you first came in, there's sometimes are grunts that chill in these trees behind those fusion or plasma coils. And every once in a long time, if you miss them right away, there's usually like a couple enemies here. And sometimes they'll even get cheeky enough to run around back here, like where that tree is. So they can hide in a lot of different places. Also, it is plausible, but it does not happen always. If that banshee from earlier was chasing you, and the banshee enters this area, you will need to shoot the banshee down with the scorpion. I've had that on my previous testing runs. The banshee is not technically part of the enemy base here, but if it enters the area and remains in combat with you, for some reason it also then sometimes counts as an enemy in this area. But once you've killed everything, you'll get your achievement. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to help you out. And of course, if you enjoyed the video and it was helpful, then make sure you smash those like and subscribe buttons. You could also leave a comment or share the video with a friend, as that greatly helps me out with the searchability of videos here on YouTube. Till next time, my brothers and sisters, thy legion,